Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Pleasure to welcome back to the program Mehdi Hasan. He's the founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the new. Well, it's not that. I mean, it feels like you're everywhere now with Zeteo. I feel like half the things I watch in the course of a day are stuff that you guys have put out or read. So excited that you got Prem Thakur over there doing reporting. Welcome back to the program, Mehdi.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
Last time, the first time actually we've met in person was, I guess it was like 5 or 6 weeks ago. There's been a very crazy 5 or 6 weeks since then.
Yes.
But you were premiering a documentary your first documentary that I guess Zeteo has produced called Israel's Reel Extremism. And let's play a clip of that, and I want to talk about this project.
This is a special forces operator, Chen Cohen. His viral videos from Gaza landed him a spot on one of Israel's most popular national bulletins. I'm trying to understand the motivation behind these humiliating videos from everyday Israelis. Guys like this who fit your kitchen.
All right, can we just pause for a second? Yeah, just because, Sam, you want me to talk over these subtitles just so for the podcast audience?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do that. Right.
We'll bring it down a little bit, but just so people know, this guy in this particular clip here, I guess, Mehdi, his name is Chen Cohen. He's an Israeli Special Forces operator. So this is what he had to say in the documentary. I wanted to show the Israeli public the kitchens in Gaza as a part of keeping sane in the midst of war. It heartens some Israelis to see that we are winning in Gaza. And others get a sense of penetrating the private spaces of Gazans, or that Israel is humiliating Gaza. No door gets scratched, no fingerprints. The doors cannot break because they don't exist. Get your kitchens in Gaza and leave me alone. In every war, part of the war is that you bring a picture back to the population you are fighting for. And part of this picture depicts humiliation because it's a war and the losing side is humiliated.
Okay, so let's keep it from there. And I mean, it sort of puts to the lie as to, who this war is supposedly against, doesn't it, Mehdi?
Yeah, this is a war which they talk about quite openly. We were able to, Basement Films, which made this film, UK film production company, went out to Israel, got these interviews with Israeli soldiers like Chen Cohen, who says, I'm superior to these people. Do I look superior? Yes, I walk around feeling superior because I am superior to these people. He says he doesn't care about life in Gaza. Another soldier says his commander told him to do it. The brother of another soldier says, yeah, torturing terrorists is fine. A prominent Israeli TV host tells the reporter that, I have no problem humiliating the Palestinians. This is the language of dehumanization. It's the language of genocide, in my view. And it is a reminder, yes, Sam, that this is not about, it's not even about, forget getting back the hostages or even just avenging October the 7th. It is simply this idea that Gaza is ours. There's an interview in the documentary with a young settler who says, I'm going to go back and build houses in Gaza. And if we have to kill 1 million Palestinians to get rid of Hamas, fine. So that is the attitude, and people don't want to really bring themselves to admit it. One of the reasons we funded this film is because we want Americans to see what our tax dollars are paying for. Too many of our members of Congress, too many of our media class just say shared values. They're our ally. We must support their right to self-defense, and they don't want to look. They're looking away from what is actually happening on the ground. These Israeli soldiers who are posting these genocidal videos on TikTok. And when you ask them, as we do in this documentary, Israel's Reel Extremism, why they did it, they have no qualms saying why they did it.
I mean, even that particular person there, later in that interview, he said, quote, there should be no life left in that place, I believe, which means he's
pretty genocidal, right, Emma?
Yeah, right. It seems a little bit genocidal, I would say. But the thing that's I think, incredibly horrifying and frustrating for us, as we've been commenting on this since October 7th, and then, of course, covering Israel's apartheid regime and dehumanization of the Palestinians prior to that, is the fact that these intentions were made quite clear by the people in the highest levels of government in Israel immediately after October 7th. And the conditions that led for this to happen, even in the way that the Israeli government is structured, nothing has changed. You know, the realities of the reality of Netanyahu, for example, his majority coalition, including the far-right extreme parties and Likud, of course, his own party in the Israeli government, and the so-called moderating forces being in the minority, that has not changed. It was the same on October 6th, and it's the same today. And so I just wonder how much information has to pile up for people in the Biden administration and this lame duck administration to take Israel at its word.
I think let's be clear, but they know what's going on. If you watch, and Sam mentioned Prem, who we just hired as our political correspondent at Zeteo, if you watch some of the questions he asks to Matt Miller and Vedant Patel, the spokespersons at the State Department, which often go viral because they just avoid answering very simple questions. What have you said to the Israelis? Have you asked about this kid they killed? What are you doing about the torture camp? They know. And I'm not naive enough to think they don't know. But what I would like is for the clips from this film and other great journalism that's been done in Gaza and in Israel to constantly be shown to these people, to at least not just shame them, but to put them on the spot. Too often, when you see interviews with American members of Congress or American administration officials about our support for Israel, it's all very abstract. Do we support Israel's right to exist? Do we support, Iron Dome? Do we support all of this nonsense? We don't say, hey, do you support this soldier going into this house and blowing it up or stealing the kids' toys? Are you okay with that? And in fact, since we made this film, things have only gotten worse. We could make 3 new films in the time since this film finished filming and editing. We've had the torture camp that's been revealed. We've had one of the soldiers in the film, a guy called Barefoot Rom, who you see at the start of the documentary. He's still posting clips from Gaza. So the fact that he appeared in this film, he didn't think, well, maybe I should stop doing this now.
The one thing that struck me about the way this, what this film sort of presents is that there is the reporting out of Gaza has diminished, obviously, progressively as Israel has targeted more and more journalists who are working in Gaza. But there are no outside outlets that are allowed to go in and, except for those that are like literally walked around by the Israelis. And the fascinating thing about this that is so undeniable, because there's so much, at least in my experience, particularly in my personal life, any expression of what the reality there is on the ground is immediately, because of the nature in which people have been conditioned, in my opinion, is immediately considered suspect. And the thing that's so powerful about this is more or less unmediated from the perspective of Israelis who are in Gaza, as opposed to any other, entity. And it is, it's devastating in that regard.
I mean, Sam, I'm glad you noticed that, because that was a deliberate decision that we made with Basement Films when we watched the film, when we watched their proposal, and we watched what they got, which was there are no Palestinian voices in this film. And that's a deliberate decision to show the war inside of Israel. Of course, Israel, we talk about Israel as the Jewish state, but 1/5 of the population is Palestinian. But it's through the prism of prominent, connected Israeli Jewish voices. We have a prominent media personality who talks about, I have no problem humiliating the Palestinians. We have a prominent far-right politician, Ayelet Sheked, who basically defends the torture of Palestinian detainees. We have a young settler. We have an aid blocker, a woman with her baby, Sam, who walks across, trudges in the heat across the desert to make sure that no aid goes to the people of Gaza because they're all Hamas. And of course, we have multiple soldiers. And that was a deliberate reason, as you say. Take it from them. Don't take it from me, the brown dude sitting in America. Don't take it from Palestinians in Gaza. Don't take it from those evil human rights groups or the biased UN. Take it from the people who are in Gaza filming this shit on their phones.
And it's only gotten worse since then, as you say, because now there's an open conversation in Israeli society if rape is a legitimate way to deter Palestinian terrorism in prisons.
Shameful.
So, like, to the point that you could make 6 or 7 more films since then with this kind of rhetoric. That is like an explicit just chapter of this horrible genocide. The fact that rape is now being discussed as something legitimate to do to detainees.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.